A white bear entered a village and begged for help. People didn't understand what to do. When a massive white bear wandered into a remote village, the locals were stunned. Instead of displaying aggression, the animal seemed desperate, as if pleading for help. Confused and unsure of what to do, the villagers watched in awe, unaware that the bear's arrival signaled something far more urgent than they could have imagined. On a bright spring day, astonishing news swept through the village. Residents had encountered a polar bear. How it had ended up in the area remained a mystery, as these Arctic predators typically roam far to the north. Yet, against all odds, this massive creature had somehow made its way to the Sea of Okhotsk. In truth, the bear's incredible journey could have been an entire story of its own. It's difficult to fathom the challenges this polar bear had to endure to reach the village. According to the story, the Arctic predator had ventured out in search of its next meal, hoping to feast on fatty fish. Carefully, it navigated the fragile ice near the water, testing its luck. But as the hunt consumed its focus, the bear's massive weight caused a chunk of ice to break away, setting it adrift on an unexpected journey. The bear had no intention of plunging into the freezing water. Desperately, it searched for solid ground, but the relentless current swept it further away. Still young and inexperienced, the polar predator hesitated, unsure of how to escape its predicament. Instead of finding its way back to familiar territory, the young male drifted far from home, embarking on an unexpected and perilous journey. Thus, it found itself in a different region. No one can know for sure how much time was spent on this unforgettable journey. It is quite possible that the bear could have reached the islands in just a few days, but that is just an assumption. And while the cold did not greatly hinder the polar predator, the feeling of hunger knew no bounds. As soon as the bear set foot on the long-awaited land, it began searching for something edible. However, the village turned out to be not the best place for feeding such an exotic creature. Moreover, there were people living in the village, and they made unfamiliar sounds that scared the bear away. The predator was wary of the local population, so it kept its distance from the houses. Meanwhile, hunger grew stronger and stronger. The uninvited guest had to change their decision, and the bear headed toward the village. On its way, it came across a small house where a family of the local police officer lived. But there was nothing to snack on in the yard. Soon, the bear lay down right on the ground to regain its strength. At one point, it was spotted by the police assistant. The guy had come to work for his superior and discovered an unusual guest in his yard. At first, he was very scared. But then he composed himself and reported the situation to his superiors. After several phone calls, a few more police officers arrived in the yard. The polar bear was enormous even while lying down. It was frightening to disturb such a large predator. Its size and sharp claws made people behave very quietly. The police tried to observe the animal up close, but each step was taken with great caution. Soon, local residents appeared in the yard. They also wanted to catch a glimpse of the polar predator. When else would they get the chance to see an Arctic inhabitant up close and personal? The bear continued to sleep, but at the same time, it made strange sounds that vaguely resembled a painful groan. Soon, one of the police officers noticed an unnatural position of the sleeping animal's paw. Apparently, it was seriously injured. People did not know how to help such a giant animal, so they contacted a specialist. The representatives of nature conservation were surprised to hear that a polar bear had been discovered in the local village. The specialists did not waste any time and quickly headed to the scene. The police had to guard the bear and also ensure that it did not leave the yard. The specialists arrived at the location and held lengthy discussions. They even had to make several calls to more experienced colleagues. As a result of the long negotiations, the verdict was made. The polar bear must be returned to its homeland. Of course, the accidental guest could not handle this task on its own. The villagers, along with the visiting experts, began to ponder this issue. How could they return the bear to the Arctic? The areas near the Sea of Okhotsk could not serve as a worthy habitat for such a predator. It needed a different living environment. One of the representatives of nature conservation stated that this was not the first case in his practice. Occasionally, polar bears are carried away on ice floes. Climate change and food conditions adversely affect these animals. Most of them die without managing to adapt to the new realities. The villagers unanimously insisted that this could not be allowed. They needed to come up with a way to transport the animal back to its usual habitat. After much contemplation, they came up with a suitable idea. Fortunately, other volunteers also emerged who agreed to carry out the rescue mission. Local officials ensured that the bear was sent to the Arctic by air in a special cage. Organizing this event took just over a week, but haste could jeopardize the plan. With time running short, every step of the upcoming flight had to be carefully planned. To minimize stress and potential risks, the specialists opted to sedate the bear before takeoff. Soon, a special flight embarked on its crucial mission. At first, everything went smoothly, but not long after, an unexpected event sent a wave of anxiety through the crew. At one point, the bear stirred from the anesthetic, suddenly shaking the cage with alarming force. Panic rippled through the passengers, unsure whether to fear for their own safety or for the distressed animal. The unexpected outburst from the powerful predator threatened to turn the journey into a disaster. Yet, despite the tense moment, the flight carried on without incident. As the bear's movements slowed, the initial worries gave way to a new concern: its condition. Upon a smooth landing, the specialists quickly worked to release the animal from its cage. Though hesitant at first, the polar bear soon stepped onto the snowy expanse, inhaling the crisp Arctic air with deep satisfaction. This was the homecoming it had long awaited. Within moments, it regained its strength, picked up speed, and vanished into the vast white wilderness. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.